In this video, we're going to be discussing the whys of planting a food plot.
Mossy Oak Properties, where outdoorsmen find their favorite place.
In this video, we're going to answer the question of why we plant a food plot. Now, there are a lot of rabbit holes that we can go down, but we first want to emphasize that a food plot is supplemental and that it helps fill a void.
Now, what is the void that makes you decide like, hey, I want to plant a food plot? So that's something that you need to discover on your own reference. What is your property? Walk your property. What is your property telling you? You have to remember, an average adult deer eats about 8 to 10 pounds of food per day. Is your property, can it support that without a food plot? A little bit of help, if you will.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, that's a lot of food. It doesn't sound like a lot, but you think of it. The whitetails on your property, every one for them to reach their full potential, 8 to 10 pounds of dry weight food every single day. Go through your woods, like Eric said, go through your old fields, go through your property and try to find 10 pounds of food. It's going to be hard to do it just once. And that deer, to express its full potential, needs that every single day. And a food plot can provide thousands of pounds of forage, depending on its size, which can fill that void.
Yep. And then, like you said, the more diverse a piece of property is. You mentioned old field, you mentioned woodland habitat, and you throw all those pounds per acre when a well-managed property can deliver. A food plot it is a piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely. They do have their place. As we mentioned, they're not necessary. Wildlife have thrived for many years before we got here and felt that we needed to plant a clover food plot to help white-tailed deer out. However, they do fill a void and they are supplemental because they can, in such a small area, reference your property. In a small area, you can provide, again, thousands of pounds of food in 1 acre, while it might take multiple acres to hit that same mark in an old field or in a clear cut or in your woodland type of habitat. You can concentrate food in a small area and provide tons of it.
Now, let's say you're one of the fortunate ones to have a large tract of ground with open land. You know, you got some sizable acres, 100 acres or more, with maybe, let's just make up a number, 20 acres of field. We can really do a lot with that supplemental wise. We can, in the meantime, we can plant, you know, let's say nutritional is what we were going for. We're trying to grow big antlered deer and have really good milk development, you know, or milk production, that is, from our does. So we can plant soybean, high protein food source, alfalfa, clovers. Those are the most popular ones that produce a lot of protein, which all that energy will go right into antler development, fetus development, and milk production. And then we could sit there in the meantime, we could start micromanaging, turning a little bit of sections into old field, etc., to get different varieties of protein.
Yeah.
But again, it's what your property is telling you, that's the void to fill.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, you can plant monocultures of soybeans, clover, alfalfa, which can provide all that tonnage, all that protein. But as we mentioned, food plots, they're meant to fill a void, and that's why a lot of the food plots that you and I plant are multiple seed blend varieties, a very diverse blend, sometimes with up to 15 different species in a blend like that with vitalized seed, because all those plants are going to mature and grow at different speeds, at different rates. Clover is going to fix nitrogen, it's going to feed sorghum in a summer blend. And in doing that, you're taking pressure off of those plants, and as they grow, if you plant a monoculture of anything, as a food plot, it leaves risk for whitetails to overbrowse it. When you have multiple plants growing, they're finicky eaters. They're going to pick the best, most tender, most nutritious when it's available and leave the rest. So as plants are maturing and growing at different stages, it's going to allow the plants that are either producing a seed head later in the summer or growing more slowly to establish themselves. So a diverse blend can take browse pressure off of a food plot and feed wildlife longer.
Yeah, especially on that plot. Consistently having wildlife use that plot by using diverse seeds.
Right.
I love it. We mentioned diversity and what seeds and stuff like that, different growths and periods, but what seeds?
Yeah, you know, important to answer that question.
Hey, do I plant pumpkins? I don't know. No, it's just, what seeds? So basically your food for thought is nutritional during the summer months. So you would plant those in the springtime.
Right.
Depending on where you live, there is zones that you can look up and stuff. In the Midwest, Cody, Mid-Atlantic, it's usually May, around May. But You would plant soybean, you would plant your clovers, you would plant your alfalfas. Again, high protein food sources, if that's what you're going for, is a nutritional type of food plot. If you're not going for that, and you have the smaller plots, buckwheat. Pretty simple thing.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a deer or turkey in the world that doesn't eat it.
Right.
Plus with the flowering aspect of things, the pollinators and bees, I mean, it's just a really good, affordable seed that if you look at it wrong long enough, it will germinate in front of you, I swear. But no, there's so many other type of seeds that you would plant in the springtime for that way it would mature by August, but then when we switch modes.
Right.
But again, it's what you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
So that period of time, again, there's so many seeds. Then we switch come like, let's say August time. We're thinking about hunting. So the seeds that you would plant, your grains, your rye, oats, wheat, those are your grain type of seeds that you would plant around August, September. And then you have your brassica family, your rape, turnips, etc. And then there's purple top turnips. There's so much you can get into. We mentioned rabbit holes. Seed blends are a rabbit hole.
We're digging.
Yeah, but basically you're prepping the site, you're getting ready for that, you know, the fall hunting aspect of it, and then you're thinking about, okay, I went from nutrition, high protein, I'm thinking about fat, you know, high carb type food source to get, as Cody mentioned earlier, the stressful times of the year.
Yeah.
The help fill that void through trained stall management in your woodlands and just complementing each other. So those are the type of things. Seed per the time of year. High protein in the spring and summer, high fat, high carb type food plot. You know, we mentioned one king is corn, right? You would plant corn for fall, for the white-tailed deer. So it's a little bit different. You're planting corn in the spring, so that way in the fall you're benefiting, you know, the deer are benefiting, and then the hunting aspect that you are as well. Sorghum fills a great void there.
Right.
And sorghum's great because it's drought tolerant to a certain degree. It's browse tolerant. When corn seed gets in the ground, it has a predator. From as soon as you put it in the ground, it has a predator until it's completely dead and gone.
Right.
Sorghum has the same fat, carb type content to it, and it doesn't have a predator.
Right.
Okay, so there's different things. Again, doing a little research, you will find out that seeds, different times of year.
Different types of year, different seeds can help you accomplish different goals. And one thing, before you start deciding what seed to plant, kind of look at your property and determine your deer density, because if you have a lot of deer and they're over-browsing your native vegetation or over-browsing your existing food plots, corn and soybeans, unless you're planting significant acreage, it's going to be a waste of your time and money.
Yes, that's a good point.
So if you have a small property or you're planting small plots with a high deer density, something that can withstand a lot of browse pressure like clovers or grains during the fall is going to be a more economical option for you.
And if your neighbors are all planting corn, do you plant corn? No, plant something different.
Right.
Yeah, just be different. Again, we mentioned having fun. Don't be afraid to experiment, and don't do what your neighbors are doing necessarily.
Right.
So,
and one of my favorite reasons to plant food plots, if I'm being honest, is hunting season.
yeah.
One of my favorite, I enjoy getting out in October, hunting over a green food plot during the afternoon, trying to put a little meat in the freezer. And if I'm being honest, the food plot can help me be more successful that time of year when it comes to deer hunting, because I can concentrate deer to a certain part of my property where I want them to be by providing them a limited resource, because oftentimes by October they're on acorns or drier foods, transitioning to carbs. If I can provide something green and tender and water-based, something palatable, I mean, they're going to hit it hard, and I'm going to increase my chances of being successful when it comes to the hunting side of things.
Yeah, and especially if you live in a farmland, whether it's north, south, there's still farmland everywhere, and everybody's got the crops off. Having a nice harvest plot, you know, of whatever, you know, that's very attractive to the whitetail and wildlife in general.
Oh, yeah.
And if you hunt it correctly, obviously the longevity of that plot, you know, will be long term.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But hunting aspect of things, nutritional aspect of things, there's food plots they are a management tool in a management toolbox. There's a reason for it to be there.
Absolutely. You and I are native habitat, native vegetation above all else.
Yes.
But I mean, food plots, as you just said, they check a lot of boxes, and almost every single piece of property that you manage as a consultant that I've set foot on, I can find a need or a purpose or a place for a food plot, whether that's to fill that nutritional void or gap that we talked about during a stress period, whether it's to provide more hunting opportunities during the fall, or to provide nutrition during the summer when whitetails, not just whitetails, but all wildlife are growing, not themselves, but also they're young. Food plots check all those boxes.
Yeah, and to get started, how do I get started? You know, go to your local feed mills, go to your local equity, see what they have, the prices and stuff. You could go to Cabela's, Bass Pro, your little hunting stores, and there's little seed mixes and stuff like that. Don't be afraid to experiment. Buy live seed. You know, we're partners with them. They're a great seed company. Yeah, there's so many places that you can go to start purchasing stuff. You can go on YouTube. And that's when your blunt mind will go,
Right.
you know, blow up, because everybody's doing it, you know. But watch those videos. Take everything with a grain of salt and learn. You're very intelligent. Learn what you can, you know, and go from there. But don't be biggest thing with food plots. You're gonna fail.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna have highs. You're gonna have lows.
Yeah.
When you plant a food plot, you're gonna have all these expectations of sitting in a tree stand and killing a buck of your dreams. And when you go out to check on it and it's all mowed off, right, you're gonna go, what do I do next? There are solutions to those type of problems that we'll get into later. But again, have fun with it. There's a lot of information, not to beat a dead horse, but yeah.
Food plots they're fun, and they're a roller coaster. As you said, there's some years you're going to feel like a production farmer where you're growing this beautiful stand, and some years it's just ain't going to rain. If it doesn't rain, you're not going to have a food plot. So you just got to roll with it, have fun, but at the end of the day, a food plot is going to check a lot of boxes for you as a landowner.
Mossy Oak Properties, where outdoorsmen find their favorite place.